Are you ready to tackle your goals, like creating a course, launching a podcast, opening a storefront, or growing your team? It's time to take action, and I'm here to help. My name's Kelsey and this is the Get Shit Done podcast. Learn from industry experts, fellow entrepreneurs, and your favorite business coach, aka me. We keep it real and share all of the struggles and triumphs, plus the good, bad, and ugly parts of running a business. Get ready for some real, honest conversations about life, business, and mindset, all to help you be inspired and ready to take on the world. Now let's jump on in to this week's episode. Mandy!
Hi, Kelsey.
I am so glad you're here.
I am so glad to be here.
We have to tell the story of how we met.
Okay.
Because I think there's value in the way that we met, and I hope people listen to the importance of putting yourself in the right room.
Yeah.
So, your perspective. How did we meet?
And I love it. I'll just say, I heard the saying, randomness invites opportunity, and how we met is the most random thing, and the opportunities that have come from that, are just, amazing. So, I launched an Instagram page for my networking group, and I believe you came up on the For You page or whatever, and so I found Empower, and you came up, and I just followed you, and that was pretty much it. And I think I'd liked some of your posts, and that was essentially it. And then I was flying down to Arizona for a conference, and I saw on your stories that you were going to the conference too, and I was like, oh, that's, I think I mentioned something like, oh, me too, and that was it. And then I pull up to the hotel, I'm getting out of my Uber, and there's a car in front of me, and I see a woman getting out, and it was you. And I literally was like, Kelsey? And you were like,
who are you?
And you were kind of looking like, hey. and then there we go. Then we sat by the pool for the day and got to know each other, and that was 9 months ago. Is that not crazy?
That's nuts.
Think of what we've done in 9 months.
To give some context for those listening, I decided to go on that conference a week before. I stayed with a friend who I had never met in person, and that friend wasn't even there yet. So I'm at this place by myself, and I run into Mandy.
Yes.
And she's from the area. We both run communities, and it was just way cool. And I wanted to share that story because had you not said anything, nothing would have come of this, which is so wild. So answer here, people. Say yes. If you connect with someone, even online, and you run into them in person or just online, and you feel like
Take
you
that
never
chance.
know.
Say hi.
Yes.
Yeah. Because that's how it all became. And then you were the MC of my conference, because of that.
For people who are not local, who don't know us, tell them about the conference that you put on.
So I came back from that conference, and I'm like, we need something like that in Washington. Why do I have to travel out of state to go to an amazing, one-day event for my personal and professional development? And so I decided to host my own conference here in Washington, and I decided to do it 5 months later. And I was like, Kelsey, help me. You're amazing. Will you be the MC at this event? And she said yes, and it was amazing. We had 140 women come that day. Kelsey was the star for the show. She did an amazing job and just really brought the whole thing together. And it was a great day. Yeah.
You severely are underselling how much work went into it because
a fire hose was here and it was all in my face.
But you crushed it for the first ever event, and to build community like that. And for people who don't know me, I'm part of 4 networking groups. I run 2 of them, they're in person, but community is a huge part of what I do. And we'll talk about this because it funnels into my business. And also it's a part of my core values. But I understand what it takes to bring people together, let alone for business, and they have to pay money. So there's spending time and finances to be in the room. And the fact that you got that many women to say yes to a day, to a thing they knew nothing about, is wild.
Thank you.
So you should really be proud of it.
Yeah, well, it was clear that there was a gap, and people were craving that type of togetherness and community and to learn and grow. And I was just able to find something to fulfill that need. So, yeah.
Well, you saw that need.
Yeah.
The event happened.
Yes.
This massive wave of momentum continued, and then you started another business. So could you walk everyone through how you put that together and what started what you're doing now?
I really found through building the network that I was getting a lot of fulfillment personally out of serving others and providing them something that they need. And so as I was meeting with these women and talking to them and what they were doing in their businesses, I kept thinking, what can I do? Like, what will fill that need more for me on serving others? And always, people say, well, what do people come and ask you for? Like, what do they come to you for? And I'm like, you know what? A lot of my friends come to me because I got divorced in 2017. And my ex and I went through a very low conflict divorce. In fact, we are frequently complimented in our post-divorce life. We're at our kids' events together and whatnot, and people just really compliment us on how we're able to be there for our kids together, and we sit next to each other. And it's really sad how that is such a foreign thing to people. That's something new. And so people come and ask me for advice on, how unfortunately they're going through a separation or a divorce, and so I was like, you know what, maybe there's a way I can help people. And so I found a certification course. Again, the woman whose course I took I met her at Powerhouse Women because she stood up in the room and she talked about how she had a certification called Holistic Divorce Institute. And I just heard that and I was like, oh, I'm gonna think about that. And here 9 months later, from hearing her in the room say that and realizing that was the thing people were coming to ask me about, I said, then this is what I need to do. This is how I can help people and do something that I'm really good at and proud of. So, yeah.
I love that you said that because I think oftentimes people want to start a business. They have the entrepreneurial bug and you literally just listened. You just paid attention. What is the consistent thing coming up over and over? And same for me. For those that don't know, before being a business coach, which is what I do now, I had a hair salon. And I was always, what's your marketing plan? Who's your target market? I would always kind of hot seat coach my clients. And I just started to pay attention. What questions are they asking me? Who is that person? How can I best help those people? And you pay attention, and it really can turn into a business. And it has for you.
Yes.
So what stage are you at with that now?
It's a baby.
Yeah.
I did the things that I knew that were right. Like, right, I created an Instagram page. I've been posting consistently with, what is a divorce coach? How can a divorce coach help you? What does a divorce process look like? Trying to get that material and that information out there to people. I created a website, messily, I threw it up there. So I did those type of things. And I got certified through a coaching, program to help fill in the gaps from my own personal knowledge. And I'll also back it up with I'm not a, serial entrepreneur. I have been a state government employee for 16 years. I know absolutely nothing about entrepreneurship. And so, but I am a litigation manager, so I have a legal background and I understand the legal process. So the coaching certification, my legal knowledge, I was really able to merge those together. So that's kind of how I got started. Yeah. I just took messy action, and sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, but I'm continuing to just take those steps, however it looks, small or big, just to keep moving forward and towards a dream.
Yeah. Absolutely. And for those that don't understand what you do, how would you describe it to someone you just met off the street?
Oh, good question. I like to say I'm the Google translator for divorce, right? I really help take something that is scary to some people, obviously it's not something they've ever done before, so the unknown is always fears attached to it. And I really just break it down for them in simple terms, the legality and that whole process, but also there's a whole emotional component to it as well. And so it's really trying to separate the emotions that they're having to deal with and the actions that they need to take to move that process along.
Right.
So, yeah.
I love that, and I think it's neat. It's like you fit into this tiny pocket and all the different, you have legal, you have accountants, financial, all these other people, like you fit perfectly in that team. Space. Yeah. Yes, yeah, you're a part of that team.
Yeah, I think traditionally people just think, oh, I just have to go hire a lawyer. And In some cases, you most certainly do need a lawyer and that type of assistance, but a lot of times you just need a small team to really help you navigate through that process on your own. And if you have that right support network, you can do it. And it doesn't have to involve lawyers and courtrooms and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. And now you have paying clients.
yes.
So we got proof of concept, people.
Yes.
Tell me more about how that came to be.
Well, I don't have some, method. I launched my Instagram page and she found me. So from the material that I was putting out there and how to work with me and putting the messy website out, she just found me. Yeah. So I don't know exactly what that method was other than messy action is how I got my first client. Yeah.
You had to talk about it and you had to put yourself out there. And same with the community and the event you put on. How do you not, I know you were boots on the ground, walking the streets, talking to people, going into businesses. And I think that's the number one piece that people forget, especially in the beginning stages. And sometimes there's not payoff for a long time. Yes. Sometimes you're showing up and it feels like you're in an empty room speaking to 3 different cameras and no one's paying attention, but they are. Yeah. And the more you can be consistent with that, and the more you can be really clear in your goal and point of saying those things, that's when it will pay off.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what's been interesting in this whole process, because I have one business over here that is exploding momentum, right? And it's great and I love it. And it is a small stream of income, right? But I have another business over here, which I'm really wanting to build, the divorce coaching, and that will hopefully allow me to be my full-time job. That's what I would really like to do. Yeah. And so the network puts me in the rooms to meet the women, to tell them about my coaching, and it's really trying to blend those two together and provide those opportunities.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I struggled with this too. Yeah. So for me, I have 2 networking groups and we meet in person. Mandy's a part of them, so she knows too. Yeah. And then I have my coaching services. And I really had them separate in my mind. If someone came to a business workshop, if they came to a network thing, I was always hyping up the business. I was always hyping up the network only. Mm-hmm. And then I realized this is a massive opportunity for my coaching business. And so I started to change the language and how I would talk about, when I'm giving the introductions, everyone always goes around the room and introduces themselves. Instead of saying, I'm in charge of this room that we're all in, everyone knows that because we're here. Yeah. I started to shift and have a pitch for me that would speak to the women in that room. Yeah. And I think same for you.
And I started to do that too.
Yeah, it's like we don't need to mute ourselves just because we're hyping up 2 things. Like we can have those 2 things.
You can be both.
You can be both. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that. They don't think about it.
No, they just think they can only be the one singular thing or have that. And I've just learned, no, I go to the networking groups and even my own, and then I say, oh, I'm a divorce coach. So I don't say, oh, I run a networking group. I put that as like a secondary thing. So
absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think the other piece of that puzzle is that those community, the rooms you're in and the community you're building can be a funnel into your business. Right. Now, because you're targeting women and entrepreneurs, not all of them are getting divorced or going through it. Right.
But they all have a mom, a sister, a cousin, a best friend that may not be in that room. And I'll use an example. One of the ladies that I met at Empower, she said, I have a friend and I'm going to tell her about you. And I was like, awesome. And she did. And that woman reached out to me. We hopped on a discovery call. And, at that time, she just wasn't ready to take some of the action steps that she wanted to, but we were able to have that call and that connection. And that was only because I had put myself in a room, in a networking room, and her friend needed it. Her friend wasn't in the room, but she was. Yeah.
Do you want to sit here? I'm like, that was perfect. But you don't know until you do those things. And also,
and you have to just keep talking about it. You just have to keep saying it. Yeah. And you may say 100 people, tell them what you do. I'm a coach, I'm a divorce coach, I do this. And only one person may contact you, but that's one person. Right. And that's more than you had before. Right. So.
And I think for me in running community and coaching, because that's what you do, my mindset was the more I blow up these communities and get them as big as possible, that's more opportunities for my other business. That's going to be a warmer lead than someone I get connected to on Instagram for the first time. Right. And so I just started to shift my mindset and priority to serving those people and serving them well. And then even if, like you just said, 1 or 2 trickle into my offer, that ramp that they go through from joining the community to hiring me as a coach is a lot shorter, and it's a stronger bonded connection.
Because you've built that credibility of who you are and what you represent in the community, and so then they feel they can refer you and all of that, even though they might not know anything about your coaching business, but they're like, I know her over here and I really connect with her there, and I think that she would probably be a really good resource for you in
Absolutely.
the coaching. So
Yeah. And I mean, same thing. I'm not in community to make money, and we'll be the first to tell you, if you're trying to make a quick buck, throwing a big event is probably not going to be the way to do it.
No.
However, there's so many beautiful things that can
That's
come
what
of it.
it's about. To me, it's the beautiful things and the opportunities and the people that you meet that come out of it, not the income.
Absolutely. So how do you divide up your time and focus on the two? Is that something that's hard for you, or how do you navigate? I mean, 3, because you still have your career.
Well, I don't know that I do it well or that I have a system. It probably just really depends on the day of what needs my attention that day. You know, I've come up with a good content schedule for the network and what that looks like, and I've gotten into a good rhythm where it's not too time consuming. Now, my coaching business, I could use a little bit more time in. I haven't been investing as much because I'm in this kind of weird in-between place, but the first thing I knew that I could do was I reached out to someone I met who was a sponsor at my event, and I knew that her background, her profession was website copy. And I've reached out to work with her because I'm like, I know that's something that's weak, and there's a better way for me to get my message across on my website. And so that's the action I knew that I could take. I could invest in that to build that up a little bit. Why this is just over here, the network, pretty much running itself, you know, for the most part. It needs a little direction from me. And then, you know, this past week, my day job that's paying the bills, it needed to be a priority. I had a lot of deadlines coming up. And so I had to kind of put other things, you know, at the bottom of the list because that needed to take. So it's just, I think just being aware and really like looking at my calendar and giving myself grace, like also like not feeling like I have to do it all, because that's where burnout is going to happen. And so it's just really just taking a step back and pausing and going, okay, this is what has to go a little bit lower on the list this week. It's a temporary thing, but here's how I can plan it out better for the next week or when I have that time, and here's what that's going to look like. So
for sure. And I think there's no perfect answer. It's just what works for you.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be a bit of a juggling act when you have businesses like that are really, they serve each other, but they're also pretty different.
Yeah.
And I think with the coaching stuff, you're in a world where you have to educate people on what you do.
Yes.
The last month's episode had 2 hairstylists on here. You know what a hairstylist does. Like, you could sell, if I cut hair, you could tell people about what I do pretty easily without much interaction, right?
Yeah.
But with what you do, there's more education that has to happen. So when it comes to content creation, when it comes to when you're pitching to people, there's just more legwork you have to do, unfortunately. But I think those businesses have better payoff in the long run because it's unique and special, and it means when someone is going through that process, you're like the person.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, I haven't heard this, but I knew this one lady does this, and
So you're planting seeds today that may not grow for a couple of years.
You're right. So, and that's what I have to keep reminding myself, like just like with fitness, right? Like that first time you worked out, you're not going to lose 5 pounds that day, right? Like it's kind of the long game. Like, what does that look like? Like, I know if I start working out today, a year from now, I'm going to see those, you know, those seeds I planted, those habits I planted. And the same with this coaching. Like, I'm just going to keep getting out there and talking about it. And I may, you know, finish this with this one client and not have another client for 2 to 3 months, but that's okay because I'm planting those seeds. And then a year from now, I may have 10 clients.
Yeah.
So it's just like, keep going.
Yeah, and I totally identify with that because when I was transitioning from hair salon to business coaching, in my brain it seemed very obvious. I always, like you probably feel, my friends always ask for this advice. I'm already talking about these things with people that I know and who know me. They're gonna hire me, and it's not just, it doesn't just happen like that. And especially with what you do, it's so sensitive that you can't force it. And I think for you, it's just like, you just have to be open and available for people, and they will have to come to you.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I see this by, you know, the followers that I have and the non-followers that still come and they watch my stories. I know that they're seeing my posts, even though they're not liking it, right? The engagement, the reach. And because in this, you know, area, people are thinking about it. It may be something that's been weighing on their mind and heart for some time, but they're not ready to take those steps, and they don't even want people to see that they're following a divorced person, right? or divorce coach. And so, but they're still checking my content. And so I'm like, even if I'm educating them with that, kind of wall between us, that's okay, because I'm providing the information that they're needing right now to maybe help them with whatever decision that they're grappling with.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Well, I ask all these questions because one of the things we've chatted about is how do you juggle the two? Where do you go with all of that? And my question to you, in a dream world, if you could just wave a wand and tomorrow it worked out this way, where would you focus your time and energy? What would you want to do?
Well, I would want to do them both. They both fulfill something so different, but at the same time, I'm providing service. At the end of the day, I love connecting people, and I love solving a problem for them because I've connected them to what they needed. So in my coaching business, if I connect them with the right financial advisor that they need to help solve this problem for them, that makes me feel better. If I connected them to finding a solution to deal with an emotion, that makes me feel good. In my network, oh my gosh, I loved, this week, I was able to connect a makeup artist with a hair salon owner because she was doing a photo shoot for her brand, and she's like, hey, do you know of a makeup artist in this area? And I was like, yeah, here you go. I loved that I was able to support those two women and what they needed and connect them. I don't make anything off of that. That was just brought me happiness that I could be that middle person and connect two women for them to grow and create something and create that opportunity. So both will always be something that I do. Yeah.
I agree, and I just had to ask because I think there's some people who will create an offer, and actually this kind of ties into the next point I want to make, but they'll create an offer out of not desperation, or they think they see something there and it's not coming from a genuine why place, like a purpose place. And I think the fact that you're so self-aware that these things light you up, because I know that about you, but I think anyone needs to build business from that foundation first, and it's just going to be way more sustainable and fulfilling, because it's not an easy road, and it never will be. I mean, look, you've been doing this for not even a year, and you have these two amazing things that have massive momentum, and you're just getting started.
Yes, just getting started. And and I'm still explaining to people, what is the network? People are still curious, but I love just letting them know what that type of opportunity is for them and why they should be in the room.
Yeah, I think that's way cool. Yeah. Okay, one of the other things we talked about, and I want to bring it up because if you're watching this, listening to this, I guarantee you've had this thought.
Yes.
Okay, you're coaching, you're in the education space, and you don't want to pigeonhole yourself to one offer where you're just doing one-on-one, or you're not capitalizing on other opportunities there. And I'm going to share my story real quick because it is relevant, and we're going to talk about you. Okay. When I started my coaching business, I Googled how to be a business coach. I watched all the podcasts, read all the books. I launched a course, made $0. Horrible, total hit to the ego. I was a six-figure business owner and no one crickets. And it's because I did not spend any time laying the groundwork that you are currently doing. And I didn't solve a clear problem. I tried to sell people what I thought they needed. I didn't understand people buy what they want, that we have to give them what they need. And especially in the world you're in, that's what you do too.
Yes.
And I share that story because we're sold, especially in the digital age, that residual income and just being able to work from anywhere and have course money trickle in. It's just paints a false picture.
Yeah.
And so that's why I share that. So I'm like, don't be like old me. Not that you are.
Yeah.
But as you're coaching and you're working on one-on-one, which that's what you're doing, you learn. And then that's where you can identify patterns and build other offers from there.
Right. From my client, that I'm working with now, I'm making notes for what she needed, and then I can build something off of that. And my next client will be the same thing. Even in the discovery calls that I've had with people, I hear what their needs are and where they're at, and I know that if that one person is doing that, hundreds more are too, right? Yes. So it's just kind of taking those notes, and right now my offer is just one-on-ones, but in the future I will have that material to build something and maybe offer a course or something like that. But it's right now I have to do that work of listening to what they need and where they're at.
And but it's going to be so much easier to sell because then they're helping you build it. You're not building it.
Yes.
Granted, you've been through divorce, so you are your target market, and you understand.
But I'm one story, and everyone's divorce is different and has its uniqueness, and so I can't base everyone's off of mine, and so that's why it's really so helpful to listen to all these other stories.
Yeah, and so I've told you this before, and I'll tell you. I've told you, plant those seeds,
Yeah.
be super valuable, continue to put content out that helps those target people, and then fill up your one-on-one until you can't hang anymore.
Yes.
You were overwhelmed, and then
that'll
naturally
create
you'll
a
build the
course.
middle.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
If I were to go back in time, that's what I should have done. And now we're here.
Yeah.
Now we're here. And
Yeah.
that is why I have other offers that I have, because they came out of necessity, and selling them is so much easier. And talking about it is easier, and it just feels better.
Yeah.
Because then I'm building it from a place of like, I want to help so many people. I can't help them in this capacity, but here's something else I can do for them.
Right. Because you can tell when it's forced and it doesn't
Yes.
feel like, yeah.
Yeah. So if you really want to scroll back through old Kelsey content, you know, you can tell.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if anyone was following me back then, but you learn from those mistakes, and that's why we have this podcast set up this way, and hopefully this is valuable to you,
Yes.
and this is valuable to the people in the room, because
Yeah.
that's how it should be.
Yeah, hopefully so. It's always helpful to me.
Yes.
Like, yes, I know.
Well, I think the thing is, you're doing a lot of the things right, and it's just like continue to do them.
Yeah.
And-
Well, I'm doing them right because I listen to people like you. I get in the room and I ask those that are 10 steps ahead of me, what did you do? What would you do differently? I get in those rooms and I talk to them so that I can be taking the right steps now. Not that I don't want to have any mistakes. I know I'm going to have mistakes and those are helpful too. But to get in the room and talk to those others that are where I want to be, that to me is the best ROI that I could get.
I love that.
Yeah.
So if you were to pick one thing to focus on in this next quarter, let's say, for your business, what would it be?
Talking more about what I do and educating people. I think that is the biggest thing that I can do right now, is just to talk to them about who a divorce coach is and why they would need me on their team. So that's going to be my focus. I think I don't care if I don't get another client in the next 6 months. It's just educating people and me getting comfortable talking about it, right? Because I'm still in that, do I know what I'm talking about, phase. And then I have conversations like with Molly the other day, and we talked for an hour, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. So I think I just need to get more comfortable with that. So that's really what I want to focus on.
Yeah. And one micro tip to help, and maybe you're doing this, but just shifting the verbiage a little bit to like, oh, I was helping a client through this, or I had a discovery call about this thing, and it just builds authority from you just giving valuable content to share to like, oh, people are paying her money for this guidance.
Yeah.
And that little tiny shift feels big to you, but to your audience, it makes them go, oh, she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Someone hired her. Multiple people. We don't know how many people. We don't even know how many people, but she is actively helping people. And it takes you from like just an inspiration page to like a legit guidance for people.
So, and even like this week, I got someone reached out and she just wanted to do a single like session of kind of a pick your brain session. And I said, okay, like I'm going to see what that looks like. And if that feels good to me and, works for that client, that may be something that I kind of offer. But I heard a need. She needed that. And I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to say no yet. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to say yes. And then I'll determine if I do it again. But, it's just kind of listening. But she knows I'm a coach, I'm a business, and all that. And she wanted to pick my brain on the two different things. I'm like, okay. So
I love that. Yeah, have that call, make her pay money, then pitch her for the real deal. That's what I would do.
Yeah, yes, I will.
Okay. Is there anything else for someone listening, maybe a past version of you, like when you were just starting off, any advice you'd want to share to those people?
If you have any type of thought in your mind or your heart, I think what got me was I said, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so it was doing stuff that I've never done before, doing it scared, doing it messy, but doing it because being exactly in the same place where I was a year from then, I knew I couldn't do. So that's just my biggest advice. Just do it. It doesn't matter if you fall on your face. You have friends and support that love you, and just do it anyways. So
I love that.
Yeah.
My advice for this episode would be get in the room.
Yes.
Get in the room, put yourself in the room, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Yeah, randomness invites opportunity.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
This was amazing.
Yes, I loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
And for those watching and hanging out with us, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And, go get that shit done.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope it was valuable and prepared you to take bold, decisive action. And remember, there's no shortcut for the show up, so go do the thing. Check out kelseymarieknutson.com/podcast for all of the notes and resources we mentioned in the episode. If you found the podcast extra helpful, please leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or share it with someone who needs to hear it. As always, I love what I do, and it's because of you. That's all for now. Let's make this month matter and get shit done.